introduce today's guest speaker. He is truly a leader who is truly embodies the essence of success through service, innovation, and personal development. Nick Libert is a real estate powerhouse with over 2 decades of experience and the driving force behind Exit Strategy Realty. As a broker, coach, and mentor, Nick has guided countless real estate professionals towards reaching their full potential. But what sets Nick apart is his passion for developing leaders. He's committed to helping others not just achieve professional success, but also to thrive personally. Through his work as a top trainer and advocate for positive mindset shifts, he's helped many break through barriers to become the best version of themselves. Beyond his real estate career, Nick is also a dynamic speaker known for his authenticity, insight, and actionable strategies. Okay? Today we are fortunate to hear from someone who lives by example and whose message of leadership, growth, and innovation is more relevant than ever in our rapidly changing industry. So he's going to come today to you talking about relationships and your database. Woo! Give it up for Nick.
I normally don't hug people that I don't know, but I know Bridget well, so she and I work together at Exit Strategy Realty. And thank you all very much for having me today. I'm used to doing stuff with a PowerPoint, and so we don't have a PowerPoint today. We got no visual aids, so watch out. Me unscripted can be dangerous. But I will try to keep this fairly brief. You guys are enjoying your lunch. I do want to thank all of you for having me here today. It is a pleasure to be on the North Shore. As you guys may or may not know, Exit Strategy Realty has been on an interesting growth curve over the last couple of years. I always said that I only wanted one office. It was going to be by my house. I live in Lakeview on the north side of Chicago. And all of a sudden, in 2018, we started getting a lot of agents that had been with us for a while on the south side of Chicago saying, hey, Nick, we love you, but we don't want to drive 45 minutes in traffic to come hear you. And this was before Zoom was a thing. And I'm like, okay, let's do this on the south side. So we got a second office. Then all of a sudden, I had a group of agents that were out in Joliet, and they tricked me. They said, Nick, come out to Joliet. You know, we want to hear you. We want to interact with you, but come out to one of our houses since you won't open an office out here. And I sat in traffic for an hour and 15 minutes to get to them. Okay, well, let's do another office. And then we ended up with our fourth, and I think for a while, final office now in Skokie. And we're really excited about that because I've been doing business on the North Shore, even though I'm a Chicago guy, for a long, long time. And you see all the amazing things going on the North Shore, and really all across Chicagoland, because one of the things that happened during COVID that was not bad, even though there's a lot of bad stuff that happened during COVID, is we learned about working from home. Though we learned about working in different environments and realizing that maybe, you needed more space, you wanted more yard. And all of a sudden, these suburbs that I think didn't get a lot of love from the city folk, all of a sudden people wanted to be in the suburbs. And so we've seen a lot of migration within Chicagoland that we didn't think was going to happen. And so I'm excited for being here today. We have, obviously, Bridget's going to do an amazing job with WCR. Kelly Ipshin from our office is on the North Shore NASBAR Board of Directors, so some of you guys may know Kelly. And so we've also, Brett and I have worked together for a long, long time. He's a mortgage person of stature, but also holds his real estate license with Exit. So we're all over everywhere. And today I want to talk to you about things that you can do in your own business that you don't have to come to Exit to hear me. And I'm not that great. But there are some things that I've done in my business that personally, because I still sell real estate, I think as a coach, the minute you get out of the game fully, all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, what I'm doing now, look at what we've done in the last 2 years. Look what we've done in the last 2 months differently. The contracts are all different, the way we do business is different, things are always changing. And so as a coach, I'm still out in the streets with you guys. And one of the things I've noticed as a coach, and I'm talking to agents all across the US and Canada just because I do coaching for Exit. Exit's a franchise, so we're all over the US and Canada. What I do when I talk to people is a lot of people, they're beating themselves up on their numbers. And let's be real, we went from the absolute lows of 2009 and 10, because I lived through those, I've been doing this for 26 years, barely ate during the first year or so of that, and I had to adapt and pivot. But what we know is, since then, we've had interest rates that just kept going down and down and down, and then we had the pandemic where we had the lowest interest rates artificially low we've ever had. And everybody also, because they're starting to work from home and they all of a sudden were on top of each other as a family, they had to move. And it was the cheapest time ever to move. So of course your numbers from 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022 were exceptional. And we know a lot of people got into the business in 2018, 2019, and the beginning of 2020 when we were all sitting at home. And so they've never had a market like 2008, 9, and 10. Well, I lived through that. I started my business started my real estate career in 1998, right before the tech bust. And I'm not from here. I'm from a small town in Indiana where we were a factory town, a blue collar town, and we relied on the RV industry. I'm from Elkhart, Indiana, if anybody knows where that is. RV, kitchen cabinet, capital of the world. We make a lot of stuff over there. And when a industry contracts or something happens like a tech bust, that immediately impacted. So I came into the real estate business as a lot of people were going, oh my gosh, this is, there's change, there's chaos here. It's also the first year, at least in my hometown, that we weren't using the books anymore. They were throwing the books out. For some of you that have been around a long time. And I was one of the first people in my hometown to have a website. People thought I was crazy for that. I've still got that same website, nicklibert.com. But the point with that is that things are always changing. There's always going to be something that messes with you. I left my first brokerage that I was at. It was a big box brand. You can go on LinkedIn and find out where I've been. But I was a big box brand, and I thought I knew everything. And on September 4th of 2001, I walked out the door of that big box brand, and I started my own company called Nick Libert Properties. Well, who's Nick Libert? We found out real quick he didn't know everything he thought he did. And a week after I opened my doors as a small independent brokerage that was definitely not well capitalized, 9/11 happened. And obviously yesterday we just had the anniversary of 9/11. Let me tell you about starting a business the week before that. I always have terrible timing, so I tell people if you see me opening something new, run in the other direction. I opened my title company, Strategic Title, a week before COVID hit. So watch out, I'm not doing anything new right now, which means we're probably safe for a while. Next time I open something new, run in the other direction, head for the hills. But right now you have the opportunity, and it's funny to say it's an opportunity, but you have the opportunity to thrive in this market. And what we know is that over the course of the past 2.5 years, so since, when did the interest rates start going up? March or April 2022 was the first one, and it just went up from there. We know that business is down. Number of transactions are down now over 60%. That's everywhere, but that's all across Illinois. And how do you get that number? Well, you go to the IR statistics that come out every month, and you see the minus number. And the minus number year over year in 2022 into 2023 was almost 50%. And then you had another 10%. And you had another 10% this year. So that's 60%. Your business is down as an industry, 60%. So don't beat yourself up over those numbers that you're personally going, this doesn't make sense. I'm out of here. Look at what happened in the mortgage industry over the last year. How many people are left? I mean, they had 70% of mortgage loan originators are gone from their pandemic highs to today. There's another owner she's a top producer, a lender that I follow on social media. She posted the numbers. She's like, here are the number of mortgage loan officers as of the pandemic highs, and here is what it is as of today. I'm like, I read that twice. I read that 3 times, and then somebody else chimed in. Another top producer said, these are accurate numbers. So we're a step behind them because, of course, we have cash deals. We have other things that we, as agents do that the mortgage loan officers didn't have to rely on. But what we know is everybody is at a moment right now where they're kind of figuring out whether they want to stay in this business. I've talked to, in the last 72 hours, 2 top producing team leaders that are not at my company that are thinking about throwing in the towel. I'm like, what? You're a top producer. Why would you should be great. Well, they're spending money on Zillow, they're spending money on XYZ, and yet their income is down 60%. I looked at one of their numbers because I use something called Market View Broker, which is a showing time product that I use as a coach to watch people's numbers. And I'm like, oh my God, this person's number is down 60%. And I know that the Zillow prices are not down, they're up. So that person is in a world of hurt. So as agents, over the last, it's almost a month now since August 17th, it'll be a month early next week, you have people going, I'm tired of this. You know, I'm sick of this. I want out. And so what does that do for the rest of us that are left? This is a time of opportunity. I watched in 2009 and 10 as I got my rear end together, got my butt together, and got my life in order. Because I really had to clean up my life. I was in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. I was messing around when the market was good. And when the market became bad, I watched other people kind of dive into their worst habits and stop doing the things that had made them successful. And we're seeing that right now, that people are making a conscious choice to check in or check out. And I gotta tell you, people are checking the heck out. How do we know that? When was the last time you got a just sold card in the mail? When was the last time you sent out a just sold card? When was the last time you had a daily hour? I call them power hours for prospecting. Bridget, you're probably sick of hearing this stuff. You're the only one that's here from Exit because Brent doesn't read his emails from me. But because he doesn't have to, he owns his own mortgage company. But in all seriousness, I talk about this every day because the thing that has saved me in my business, I got a lot of flaws and I got a lot of things I do wrong. The only thing I think, the thing that I do best in all the things I don't do well is I'm consistent. You know, Joel, you see me on social media, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over, day after day. And I'm watching people, kind of like during the pandemic, all of us started to, I picked up that bottle of wine more than once that I shouldn't have. Everybody kind of dove into some bad habits. Well, we're in an industry where everybody else in America probably feels like the hurt from inflation and that kind of stuff, but they're not feeling that hyper hurt that we are feeling, that really only probably the mortgage loan officers and maybe the home inspectors, people that are dependent on this industry, can feel right now. So we're in that unique bubble of hurt. And so what are you gonna do to actually pivot and thrive in a world of hurt? And I don't wanna say that we're gonna take advantage of other people, because we won't, but they're checking out. They're checking out. Our numbers, it'll take another 6 months to really reflect in the National Association of Realtors, and think about it more at the local level, because people are mad at NAR. But at the local level, NASBAR, CAR, MORE, the local boards, you're gonna really start to see who decides to stay in and not in another 3 to 6 months. Because a lot of people, I think they were kind of thinking August 17th wasn't really gonna happen. You know, even at our office, I was like, well, we'll make sure that this thing actually goes through. And all of a sudden on August 12th, I'm creating forms because I didn't do my work in advance, you know, and we're waiting for the local boards to do so. It is so stressful right now because you're not used to this new routine of having to pick up the phone and call and ask, and the person on the other end doesn't pick up or doesn't reply back or doesn't have their documents in order, or this is the first deal they've done since the new rules and they haven't listened to the 20 plus webinars from their managing broker, because I know we're dealing with the same thing where we're like, okay, I think a lot of the companies have done a decent job. I think the local boards have done a great job of trying to educate you, but that means you have to be engaged. And so even if you were engaged, the person on the other end of the transaction isn't probably engaged. And that poor consumer is the one that's really in the middle of this, that they're like, what the heck's going on? And if you don't know how to explain that, you got a problem. So I've got some resources for you today. This is one of those things where, because I don't have a laptop, I'm going to tell you to take out your phone because I don't have any visual aids today. A couple different things I want you to do. If you don't already have great resources, or even if you do, you can text the number commission. So if you go into your phone and you text the number, text the number 85377, and the word you're going to put into that number, 85377, is commission. And what you do when you text commission to 85377, it's going to send you a little link. It's nothing cute or sexy. It's a Google Drive folder that I put together that's resources from NAR, some stuff at the local level, that what is our value proposition as a realtor? You know, what are we saying to people as a realtor? But let's get the NAR stuff out of the way. Let's get that commission settlement out of the way. And once you've done that, and you're like, okay, I'm cool with this. I can navigate this. I'm ready to build my business. Because what's happening? It's September. I start teaching business plans at my office next month. And by the way, I teach out of the Skokie office. You guys are welcome to come. You don't have to be an exit to do a business plan. When was the last time you did a business plan? When was the last time you followed through with a business plan? And the people that do business, I used to teach business planning in December, shame on me. And what would happen in December was that people would start implementing in January. Well, when do you see the results from that? March, April? We got a problem. Houston, we got a big problem. Because right now, what's happening next week? First interest rate drop. Hallelujah. First of what we hope are many. People are going to start looking again for homes. What else is going to happen? The election, no matter what side you choose, will be over somewhat in November. People are going to start thinking about 2025. What's your project 2025? I am neutral. I'm not talking about any of that stuff today. Here's the flag. But what is your project 2025? What are you going to do for next year? Where's your business plan? And what Bridget told me that I was supposed to talk about today is database. And it's one of my passions, one of my biggest passions, because what has saved me in my business has been consistency, but consistency in doing what? Building and feeding and providing value to a database. That is it. Some of you may, on occasion, probably once every 3 months, get an email from me if you've done at least 4 transactions in the last 12 months, because I track that. And they're annoying. They're, resources from Realtor resources from Nick. And I know some of you have unsubscribed. And that's fine. But my mission is to touch my database. My database is twofold. I've got a Realtor database and I've got a consumer database of past clients. I've done 700 something transactions at this point in my career. Our job is to always be building that database and touching that database. And I don't mean feeding it garbage. Your baseline is a monthly newsletter, but what's in that? No offense to people that say send the recipes, because I do at the bottom of mine almost as a joke, because I'm like, I didn't cook that. I didn't do that, use that recipe. Well, maybe you can cook. But what else is in there? What are your touches to people? So I've got some resources for you today that I want to suggest to you. I do have a website specifically for realtors. It's called coachwithprojectx.com. coachwithprojectx.com. And on that website, there are some things that I like. There's a certain CRM that I use, it's not an exit CRM that I swear by. I don't care what CRM you use. The best CRM you have is your phone, quite frankly. That's where it all starts. But what do you do with that phone? What do you do with that CRM? So I've got some books that I like. These are, if you go on Coach with Project X, there's a little Amazon link. I got a book list in there, or you can just figure this out and buy it on your own. I do not care, but I'm a book guy. Some people like to read them in person or physically. Some people like to listen to audiobooks. I'm old school. I got the highlighter out. I'm highlighting some of these 2 or 3 times. I've read them so many times. There's 3 books really that I want to speak about today, and then I want to build into that. How does that affect my database? Number 1 is The Miracle Morning. How many of you guys have read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod? Life-changing for me. Life-changing. Brett was talking about he was raised by a single mom. I was raised by a product of divorce. So my mom and dad got divorced when I was early in my high school years. Dad left, did not, when I say didn't come back, did not even speak to us ever again. Just out of the picture. And so my mom was a single mom, single parent, from the time I was 14 on. Well, guess when the kids get most expensive? When they're in their teens and into their, and they're getting ready for college. And then we have my little brother right behind me. So I grew up in an environment where money was always an issue, and my mom was always trying to make ends meet. And that's actually how I got into real estate. Was the one thing that got us through some tough times, along with her hard work, was that she owned an investment property. And that investment property paid the bills sometimes. And that's how I learned the value of having not only a roof over your head, which I call mattress money, because that's building equity over time, but then also what I call mailbox money, which is having an investment property that will cash flow over time and bring you cash in. But the point of that, though, is with the Miracle Morning routine. I never had a morning routine because my dad, part of the reason why they broke up was he was perpetually unemployed. Literally perpetually unemployed. Could not keep a job for filth. And so he was always sleeping in late. So what do the kids do? Sleep in late. So I grew up in a routine that was no routine. And guess what happened then? What do I do when I'm in college? Get my real estate license. when I'm done with college, I'd already been selling real estate part-time. I decided not to use my college degree, so I went into real estate full-time. What's the routine of most realtors? There is no routine. So I grew up in an environment and raised the rest of my real estate career until I read The Miracle Morning, sleeping in late. I get my workout in after I'd go show houses, which means there's barely a workout. But the most important thing was I would show houses to maybe the few clients that I had the first decade in the business, but I would go from deal to deal. How many guys know agents, or are agents, but we don't have to embarrass ourselves, know agents that are deal to deal? They focus on the deal they've got, they don't do any new business. They don't prospect for new business, it's like that deal is all they're talking about. Well, I did get finally, eventually, no thanks to any brokerage I was at, but actually going outside the brokerage portion and finding a good coach. I found a coach that taught me how to prospect. But the problem was, now that I knew how to prospect, well, when would I fit that in that day that started at 11? You know, when you wake up at 7 or 8 or not, you know, I just didn't have that built into me. So I read the book, The Miracle Morning. And that book, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. What time do they want you to get up? Whatever time you choose to get up that's your business. Because everybody, you know, you've either got kids, I got a sick parent right now that we're dealing with, we got other things going on in our world, you got a side business, something else is always gonna get in your way. But if you can back up from whatever time you get up and do what I've taught myself to do by reading this book, I'm up at a time in the morning, most of the time it's 5 o'clock, some of you guys get emails from me, you know, 5:15, 5:30 in the morning. That's not an auto email, that is me typing it out. Get up in an hour where I can get things done before life gets in the way. And so whatever hour that is for you, I'm gonna encourage you to do that, because until I did that, I had some of the best laid plans, but my execution was garbage. And once I got into that Miracle Morning routine, it takes, what, 2-3 weeks, they say, 21 days to build a habit, and it truly was for me. I'm like, this is a habit that I've never even tried. You know, I would get up early for a flight, you know, or a fire. You know, if there's a fire drill somewhere, that's the only time I'm getting up at that hour until I read that book. So once I got consistent in that, I was able to build in the time before people would get in my way. Because life will get in your way, whether that's kids, pets, neighbors, crazy stuff going on, the world in general right now. Get up at that hour, or an hour that works for you, where you can time block, or I call it time boxing, to get your prospecting in. And what does that prospecting look like? Well, before I even get into that, I know what some people are already thinking, or if you watch this, you know, later, because I'm recording this on YouTube, what you're going to see is some people automatically go, ooh, that sounds terrible. Or what if I miss a day? I don't do that every day. I got to be real with you. I'm up to maybe 4 days a week out of 5. There's always something messing with you. You know, that I had a debate night party on Tuesday night, and people they overstayed their welcome, and that bottle of wine got open more than it should have. And so Wednesday morning, guess what happened? It was not 5 a.m. It was a 6:45 a.m. and it was slow. But what the compound effect teaches you, and that's the second book I want to recommend you, the compound effect is like, do it as much as you can. And it doesn't have to be massive changes all at once. It can be little, small, incremental changes that if they're repeated, and you don't sit there and wait for the results. It's kind of like when you post on social media and you're just sitting there waiting for the likes. No, it's consistency. You go follow me on social media. I'm at Nick Libert on every platform. I'm really annoying. But I'm consistent with stuff. And what I found is that over time, no matter what you're doing, whether it's health and wellness, I grew up not exercising. I ended up being a marathon runner. I'm gonna say a marathon jogger, sometimes a walker by the end. I'm about to do my 6th world marathon. That was a learned habit. And so, okay, this is a guy that couldn't play a sport for garbage in high school. How do you end up being a marathon runner? I taught myself with the help of our business manager at Exit Strategy, Angela Lakes. She was a marathon runner. She didn't pop out of the womb like that. She trained herself by starting with little jogs and slowly over time getting into bigger stuff. And it took me almost a year to get ready for my first marathon. I hated it. But The Compound Effect was a book that I read to teach me how to do small incremental changes over time. Well, how the heck does that apply to your real estate business? Let me give you your third and final book, and I'll get out of book club. Raving Fans. How many guys have read Raving Fans? Raving Fans is an incredible book because what it does is it teaches you to stop selling and start providing value. and this is something where I'm gonna call myself out because I try to be pretty transparent. I've not been on my A game with this lately, but we're getting into a season of real estate where I know what's coming up this fall, and I know that there's some cool movies out. I do movie nights for our clients. Bridget, you've been to them. You got the invites to them. I do movie nights for our clients. Obviously, anybody can throw a home buyer seminar. I'm not being shady about that. I love home buyer seminars. I like home seller seminars. But when was the last time you actually just got people in the room to say, hey, I appreciate you, and not try to sell them something? And so the book Raving Fans taught me that. And a baseline thing you can do every day, and this is how I rebuilt my database over the course of a year. A baseline thing that I want to strongly encourage you to do, because I harp on this because it really changed my business, was that every morning, one of the first things I do is I go on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm telling you what even the Miracle Morning says, don't touch your phone. Well, I had to adapt a little bit to do this routine. I go, after I've done the basic of my morning calming stuff, I go into my phone, I go on LinkedIn. How many guys have LinkedIn? I hope you all do. How many guys have all of your past clients and people you network with on your LinkedIn? I know some of you, but you haven't logged in there in 2 years. You don't have a profile picture. You're at you're at blank company, and I know that's not the company you're at anymore, and you're not using it because you're not looking for a job. But here's what we know. I want you to create the habit that every morning you wake up and you try to find at least 5+ people. I call it 8 by 8, 8 people by 8 a.m. that want to be recognized. But they're not going to tell you that. But they're going to tell social media. Or social media is going to tell you. It's a trigger. What's going to happen? Birthdays. But what do we find? Some people are checked out on Facebook. They're not on there anymore. But Facebook had birthdays. So I started that habit with Facebook. But I found out over time that, well, people changed their name on Facebook. Now they're deleted it. It's an election season, so some people don't even want to be anywhere near that stuff, or they don't want their grandma seeing Facebook, so now they're on TikTok, which doesn't have birthdays. Where are people very honest with their information? LinkedIn. You know why? Because they're either looking for a job, or they are the person trying to build their business, or the recruiting for their business or their company. LinkedIn is very powerful because people will put their birthdays in. People will put their actual cell phone number in. When's the last time you saw a cell phone number accurate or at all on Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere else? Unless it's somebody trying to sell you something. But on LinkedIn, it's there. You just have to connect with people. And then you go click on contact information. Then magically, the people that didn't have any contact information, it's actually all there. Because they want to be contacted. It's got their actual email address. So when you go on LinkedIn in the morning, you click on My Network. Write this down, guys. Click on My Network, and it used to be called Celebration. So for the past 3 years, I was on the beta test of this because I had a friend that worked for LinkedIn for many years, and that was great. And he's no longer LinkedIn. He's not been there in a long time. But I had him come speak to my office in 2015 or 2016. It was before Marky Lemons was with my company, because she was the other speaker. But he taught us about that they were going to start on LinkedIn, getting the rest of that information. They were going to start spilling it out there. So LinkedIn Celebrations, under the My Network tab, was what it used to be called, and it would tell you every morning, here's who has a birthday. Oh, and here's who had the birthday last couple days. We know you didn't do this consistently every day. Here's who has his job change. What's going to happen when people have a job change? Eventually, they might want to move, right? Upgrade, downgrade, relocate. It's going to tell people that they've had some sort of educational event. What's that going to mean? Probably upgrading, downgrading, relocating, something's happening. And even if that doesn't mean that, shouldn't you want to reach out to them? So here's what I do. I go on LinkedIn, I click on My Network every morning, and it's called now Ketchup, not like ketchup that we may have had on some of our plates at lunch. Glad I'm not wearing a light suit. But Ketchup, C-A-T-C-H, up, is where you can catch up with what's going on with people. And what do you then do? Don't write on their wall. You pick up that phone and you text them. Because here's what's going to happen. Half the time you don't even have their cell phone number, do you? In your phone. Or if you do have their cell phone number, go and look at their first and last name. One of my biggest YouTube video hits is probably one of the worst videos I've ever done. It's a 4-minute video. It's got like 40,000 views on it now. And it's the stupidest thing ever. I just screen recorded. This is during COVID. I'm like, hey guys, here's what you should be doing in your phone. Don't do what I used to do, which is like, there's a guy named John. He was a painter. So what was he in my phone? John Painter. John the Painter. You may have me in your phone as Nick. Do not pick up. He's trying to get me contact. I'm not. I swear. It's good. You can do what you want to. Have people's first name, last name, And then under phone number, because any of the decent CRMs out there are now starting to pick up the difference between a work number and a mobile number. And then what else? Email address. Email address. Because what do we know? People aren't going to pick up the phone half the time when you call them. But you want their email addresses. I call it a multi-channel campaign. But to sit there and say, I'm going to realistically do this in my entire database of 200, 500, 5,000 people, are you really going to do that? Well, you will do it if you, on a daily basis, go into LinkedIn, and maybe even go on Facebook too to cross-reference, and do this daily habit. And here's the next piece of that. So when you text them happy birthday, say, by the way, I have a little card for you. Doesn't have to have a Starbucks in it. I realize everybody's on a budget right now, but mine had a Starbucks in it for a while. I have a little card for you. What's your home address? Or can you confirm with me your home address? Because what do we not have? People's home addresses. This is one of my favorite things to get people to hold them accountable. Is like, okay, you say your CRM, your database is cleaned up. You should be able to, in your database, in your CRM, press three or four buttons depending on the CRM and print out a mailing list of all your people, right? How many people can actually do that? Or you're gonna spit out a bunch of names with nothing because you only got an email or a cell phone number. How do you correct that? And at the same time, honor your database and give people something to have an item of value from you that's not, hey, do you want to buy with me or sell with me? That's a real tired conversation. Honor their birthdays, honor their job changes, honor things that go on, good or bad, in their life. 8 by 8. 8 of those by 8 a.m. I'm already getting flagged for time. It's not 8 a.m. But I won't go till 8 a.m. I'm going to give you another thought, though. That is your Mets. Those are people that you've met. Our database, sadly enough, is shrinking by the day. What do I mean by that? Unsubscribes. People that relocated, even though I never take them out of my database, I get great referrals from people that left but liked me. They're like, hey, I got a friend that's thinking of moving there. Because now I'm in a new city. I got to think of moving away from there. They're going to join me in my new city. But beyond that, people are unsubscribing. People are sadly passing away. I just had a good longtime friend and client of mine. I remember my referral army passed away from cancer. Guy's younger than me. Good human. Didn't see that one coming. Our database is slowly, day by day, if you're not adding to it, it's shrinking. So in addition to what I call the 8 by 8, I challenge you to do, it's actually 10 by 10. Add 2 new people a day. And that could be for sale by owners. God forbid we actually started prospecting them again. Could be expireds, because things are expiring. Go look, not many out there, but some of them are expiring. There may be a reason why it's expired, but I still want to talk to them. 2 neighbors that you haven't met yet, or that you've met but you have no contact information for. Walk up and down your block. How many people have a pet? Go walk your dog. Go walk your dog. I don't have a dog right now because of my schedule. I pet sit for one of our agents. No, that is not a recruiting tactic. I will not pet sit your pets. That just happened by accident. But I'm sitting there walking up and down my own street and I'm like, I better do what I preach because I know that not all these people are in my database. And where's your database? It starts with your phone. Put them in your phone. It'll sync up to any decent CRM because it's going to sync up to Google Contacts. I can teach you all that another day because my time is up. But if you can do that, let me give you, as my final comments here, my statistics, is I was flatlined and plateaued at $10 million a year. And that was including $10 million a year in sales. And that was 2013, 2014, 2015. I'm going, that's it? That's all you got? I had 1 part-time assistant, but I was spending money on Zillow. This is not a slam on Zillow. I got friends high up at Zillow. That works for some people. It was not working for me because I was not following up properly. But I was spending money on Zillow, $1,000+ a month, spending on Realtor.com, spending on billboards, bus benches. So what was that $10 million, that $250 a year really? It was barely above 100. Plus I had an assistant. Not looking great, especially living in the city or in these expensive places we live, right? So I got a coach, and that's why I'm passionate about coaching, because I'm like, not everybody's gonna pay $3,000 a month for a coach like I did for 3 years. I spent $100,000 to make $100,000 plus more a year. But when I got done with that coaching and this consistency, my sales were over $20 million a year with that same one-time assistant minus the billboards, bus benches, Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com spend. Not shading on those spend, you gotta spend money sometime. But my business, my entire life changed based on that. And I gotta tell you, as a happier human and more pleasant to be around, as those people at Exit can attest to. So please, think about what in your daily habit you can change, that it won't happen overnight. But over time, it's September 12th, right? What would you do if you did this for a year? I can tell you, it took me a year to clean up my database. But when I was done, I got to cancel all of that mess that I was spending money on that was not getting me any business. And now I wake up to leads every day. Thank you guys very much for having me here. I appreciate it.
All right.